Robin Flynn filling in for Elias Makos. We are with you until 12 p.m. And I'll be back tomorrow, by the way, filling in for Elias. And then Trudy Mason will take over for the rest of the week. A new study shows that smartphones are hurting our brains, something we've heard before. This is especially true with young people. In that study, data shows that for those between the ages of 16 and 39, woohoo, I'm still considered young, the part of our brains that affects our sense of responsibility has plunged into the 30th percentile. It also affects our ability to focus, our communication skills, but how bad is this problem? What kinds of effects are cell phones having on our brains, and what can we do about it? Mitch Joel is a tech advisor, co-founder of ThinkersOne, and the author of 6 Pixels of Separation and Control-Alt-Delete. Hey, Mitch, great to chat with you again.
Always great to hear your voice.
Likewise. Now, I have such mixed feelings on this. I've had so many conversations with people my age who have kids who are starting to get into that age. Do I get them a phone? Do I not get them to a phone? We're all having that discussion. Fortunately, I think it's still a few years off for me. My kid's only 3. But a lot of them are worried about these studies that they're seeing coming out saying that smartphones are damaging young people's brains. But what exactly is it that is causing that damage? Is it the blue light? Is it social media? Do we know what the problem is?
No, I don't think we know exactly what the problem is, and the science varies. So you talked about this one instance where we talked about just the blue light and how that's what keeps you awake, and then we're seeing it's actually maybe not that, but it could be. So there's a lot of, my general sentiment here is correlation isn't causation, but that doesn't mean we need to be very intelligent about what these devices are, who should have access to them, what's happening with that access, and when that access is happening. Because ultimately, we do know that we are enabling a new type of behavior. And even if just looking at this most recent study, when we hear conscientiousness, we think, well, what does that mean? It's everything from your link to responsibility, to your follow through, to your self-control. And in the world where we live, we know that the online world makes real life commitments feel messy and effortful. It's much easier if I could just send you a quick text, Robin, or just even ghost you if I don't want to respond. But having to face up to it is a different thing. So because we have so many people connected and doing this, you and I might remember a time when we didn't. These younger people don't. And so behaviors like ghosting someone feels very normal or okay because everyone does it, when in reality, we know that it is shifting this conscientiousness that we have as human beings.
Well, I can definitely say that smartphones are probably to blame for my increased social anxiety. I'm already an anxious person by nature, but I used to make phone calls all the time because that was our only option. But now I'll 100% send a text. It feels almost invasive if somebody calls me without asking first. I think the only person allowed to call me without texting first is my grandma, and that's because she doesn't text, But I'm annoyed. I'm in the process of opening a new business, and I have to get my internet set up. But there was no option on the website for me to book an appointment online. You have to make a phone call. And I've been putting it off, no joke, Mitch, for a week. Because I'm I don't want to call. I don't want to call. It's going to take 5 minutes. Don't want to do it, but I'm just so not used to having to call and talk to strangers. And I do think, the technology we have today is partly to blame for that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'm a bit detached from that because I'm still of the generation, much older than you, where I thrive and live in that human connectionness. Now, I'm probably more introverted or socially awkward than the average bear, but my desire, that feeling of I could watch a concert on YouTube. It's not the same as going to a physical concert, in particular when I'm with somebody and the experience and that. So to a certain degree, I understand social anxiety. I understand anxiety and panic attacks. I get it. But we have to look at what we're missing by not having this. And I would even push it further, Robin, and say that I don't want you to be in a world where the growth of your business is predicated on the tasks you accomplish. Because I think the growth of your business is ultimately going to be built on customers, client relationships, people who know, like, and trust the work that you're doing and how you push it forward. And what I feel has happened for sure between the pandemic and now, and just what we're seeing in the attitudinal aspect of young people, is this slight push towards, I don't really want to speak, see, or do anything. And then at the same time, when they want things like a raise or want to explore other employment options, they find themselves being very, very limited, because what they suddenly realize is they were kind of like a human computer, just doing tasks and not really living in the world.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the pandemic, because there are a lot of habits that I know people developed during the pandemic that they maintain today, like working from home, working remotely, but even grocery shopping. I started doing my groceries online during the pandemic. I'd never done that before, and I just never stopped. It's so convenient. It's so easy, especially once you're a mom. You don't have to drag your kid to the grocery store. But then I realized when, like, a few months ago, I brought my daughter to Walmart and she looked like a deer caught in the headlights. She had never been to a department store before. And I was like, oh man, I need to get this kid out. We need to touch grass a little bit more. So do you think that maybe people are becoming too dependent on the technology and therefore sacrificing other skills that we should be honing?
Look, history does not speak kindly to isolation. It just never works across the board. And so there should be some type of moral panic here. We should be thinking about young people. Look, here where we live in Quebec, we're talking about banning social media. We know that we have screens in class, and now they are starting to lock them down or even have phones fully removed from the school system. In the States, we had programs like Wait Till 8, asking parents to please wait at least till grade 8. Now they're pushing it even further, because the truth of the matter is that this is not great for young people. We have to acknowledge that them having also, because we have to also think about, we have devices, one problem, they're glued to those. It's also the content component of it. There are no age restrictions. You give them Instagram, it's unlimited who they're connected to. I also don't want to diminish the fact that we can't be the olds in this conversation. This is how young people communicate. Yep. This is how they stay connected. These are the tools that we use in work. So I don't want to make it sound like it's a zero-sum game, but it is a world where we have to look at both personal responsibility. We have to frame this almost like nutrition. Are we making the best choices inside of this very engineered environment? And also, what should schools or employers do? Things like phone-free classrooms, having norms set around meetings or gatherings, maybe putting devices into things like storage bins. And by the way, there are teens that are pushing back. Many of them, when they do take these intentional breaks, they talk about how much better they feel or how much more explorative they are in their lives. So we have to understand that it's not that our brains got weaker. It's that this slot machine moved inside our pockets and it's always there. And we as people feel like if we're not connected to it, we're somehow having that FOMO, that fear of missing out.
We also have to keep in mind, though, that parenting teenagers is very different than, dealing with adults whose frontal lobes are fully formed. Because, I've heard from people say, my kid doesn't have social media. And I'm like, yes, they do. You just don't know about it. Banning it altogether, I don't think is the right approach. Personally, I think I would rather teach my children how to use it critically, how to think critically, how to engage with it safely, and then have some sort of trust system where if you, disrespect or break that trust, then there are logical consequences. I don't know that I will feel good about just banning it outright, because I remember being a teenager. I was a pretty good kid. And whenever my mom told me I couldn't do something, well, you betcha, that was the next thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle on that. My perspective now is that perhaps if we're dealing with kids under a certain age, we can call it 16, maybe 13, we may want to start treating these devices, these smartphones, like we would treat things like car seats or seatbelts. It's not that you can't drive, it's not that you shouldn't be in a car, but there are certain safety precautions you have to understand about this. And the challenge I have with, you're not naive, but you have a young child where you're not in it. When you're in it, what you quickly see is that the best of intentions are relegated to the worst families and or parents in the social structure. Meaning you can say all these great things, but if everyone else is doing it, it's going to be really challenging for you. And on top of that, the only pushback I have is it's also the addictive nature of the devices. And so you could teach somebody how cocaine is bad for them, but if they're constantly ingesting it and addicted to it, it's really hard to then say, but manage yourself, just don't do that. And that's the problem with these devices, is the addictive nature and the engagement of it doesn't necessarily give you the purview to enable your kids to have that best moral intention.
Mitch Joel is tech advisor, co-founder of ThinkersOne, and the author of 6 Pixels of Separation and Control-Alt-Delete. Thanks so much, Mitch. Great conversation.
I'm glad we're both conscientious.
Yes, it's very, very important. And both introverted. We have that in common as well. Have a great day, Mitch. Appreciate it.
You too.